see. All right, well, in this case, we're recording the meeting anyway, so we can come up with notes afterwards. Um, so let's see here. Is who's here from CCS? Is Bob? Are you here
I
or
I I am here. Yep. I'm
okay.
not sure what's going on with my video, but I am here.
Okay. All right. I was just curious. I was like, wait,
Yep.
I'm not sure. So I guess I'll call our June meeting here to order of the CCS IT Technical Group. Um, and I guess the first order of business to is to approve our minutes from our last meeting in March. Does anyone have any changes or any other requests about them, or we're all good?
Shield is working. I created some files, set up as right now. We're good.
Okay. Um, Whatchamacallit. So does someone want to motion to approve the minutes? Anyone?
I'll motion to approve the minutes
Thank
of the
you.
last meeting.
Can
I'll
I get a
second the
second?
motion.
All right. Thanks so much, Ken. All right. Minutes are approved for our last meeting of March 18th. Um, I guess first order of our old business is does anyone to be nominated or to be, I guess, sworn in next time for vice chair or secretary? Because no one actually emailed me about it at the time, so I'm asking now, and I guess well, I'll let anyone speak now.
I didn't have to do anything last year, so it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I should say that. Like vice chair doesn't really do a whole lot. It's mainly the chair unless the chair can't show up for a meeting, but I've been at every one, so it's worked out pretty well. And secretary obviously is just taking minutes of the meeting. Um, so I guess I'll have a last call for volunteers here. Anyone for vice chair?
I suppose I can do secretary as long as I remember these meetings.
Do you need to send us your reminders or we need phone calls? What do you need?
Uh,
Okay. Um, Anyone for vice chair?
I'll step in as vice chair.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Isaac. All right, so we'll note that here. So Isaac for vice chair. Let me just actually update my thing here. So we also don't have. Murty is going to be our new chair starting next time. So yay. As our group continues to grow because we keep adding more libraries every year. So yeah, exciting stuff. Um, the last thing I had on the agenda is more, I guess, personal for me in the sense of all staff teams. Aside from Smirty here, and I was trying to think of anyone else. Do any of you have like an org-wide Teams channel at all that you guys use? It's a question.
Yeah, we have one at Park Ridge.
You do. So how did you structure that? Did you actually use, like I mentioned in here, like file expiration and stuff like that for anything, or you just structured what'd you structure, I guess?
No, I think our director ended up created it. So she
Okay.
just created a Teams and then she added all the staff to it and they pretty much done all the upkeeping for it.
Oh, so the director has done that
Yeah.
themselves. Okay. It's interesting. So
what type of Teams channel?
it's an org-wide Teams. So basically what
Oh,
happens is you as the M365 admin, you can create a team for the entire organization that automatically adds everybody. And then set up channels and stuff like that for, as you might normally do it. However, at Mount Prospect, they also have like a place for staff to share things. Like I'm forgetting the name of what they call it, but it's like just like staff share outs or something else like that is I think what they call it. And basically, like you can say like personal information, like like your son graduated or this, that, the other, for people to share those types of personal milestones.
We
But
have that too. Our
yeah.
all staff team has three channels. One is for admin to push out information that the staff cannot change, they can only read. And second channel is for staff or anybody to put anything which is not related to work. And third is purely related to work where anybody can post, but it only has to be work related. Say printers, copiers are down, internet is gone, some areas will be closed for cleaning. So those are our three all staff channels. And I manage teams for our organization, management team. Everybody just puts data in, but I manage all the controls.
I mean, yeah, we have something like that, but it's there. Yeah, well, we have. I think you were asking for like if someone's on a team, like a. In our case, there's a chat. We have some chat channels that involve the entire staff, but we don't have a team of the entire organization.
Yeah, this is just a team that would be
Yeah.
like org wide, right? And I've seen other libraries with the chat channels that you're talking about, Mark, as well. Mainly, and in my case, the last place that I knew that did that with the chat channels is because they used Slack before a lot, and that's what they were using it for. Anyway, it was just chatting, and so then they didn't see a need for having an org wide team. I want to say in the Mount Prospects case, the director there, the previous director there, I should say, had designed it so that files can expire in certain channels after a certain point. And so that's just something that I'm going to be implementing here too, to do that. So then that way it automates the cleanup, right? So you're not going in and people are posting pictures and stuff like that. And you've got stuff for like 8 years or 6 years before you know it, right? So, and then that takes up your storage space. So,
On our
yeah,
big on our big on our like main channels that all that have all staff on them, we just have a like a pinned post to the top that says this chat is playable and may be viewed by the public.
that's fair. That prevents, I'm sure, quite, some stuff there. If you say that, people should, yeah. All like work communication is foible, more or less. So, um, cool. Well, thanks for that. Um, I just know I have to build this out here in the next couple of weeks or so. They probably want it by July after. I think I got them to do it after the 4th, so but I have to finish that. But it was just me asking for some more information if anyone had any other thing to add. Um, so the first order of new business, and this kind of blew up on me, I guess, in a way, the RFID tags. And I was just curious, as far as installing the software for the RFID tags and everything else, you guys have any other in like anything else to do, I guess, with the RFID tags as far as like, deciding a standard or anything else like that? Or we're just, because I mean, I'll be honest, that was what our role was. It's like, oh, here's the tag pad or RFID pad, here's the software, install what you need, and then, kind of off to the races, so to speak. Does anyone else have any other kind of experience as far as that, as far as setting up those the RFID pad and the software goes? And in our case, we use Biblioteca specifically. I assume that it might be a little bit different for people that don't use Biblioteca hardware.
So, Michael, I have a question for you. We use Envisionware and Biblioteca both. We are transitioning from Biblioteca RFID pads to Envisionware, which are so much easier than Biblioteca. But when
Mhm.
you set up Staff Connect Link, the software, you are expected to put tags information in it,
Mm.
right? So, what tags were you putting in the software before?
The tags that you mean the information we're putting in the tags, or you just mean like
No,
which?
you in the hardware settings of Biblioteca Staff Connect Link, you're supposed to select the tag formats which will
Yes,
be read by the RFID pads.
yes, yeah, that is correct. Yeah, we
So
do
which
that.
tag formats were you putting before? Just a couple of them?
Well, we were just putting in the ones, well, I think we just had, a couple of them, I think is what it was. We had just been using the ISO object item format. And I think I'll be honest, I think that seems to be more of a, I don't know if it was a Biblioteca standard at the time that was recommended or something else like that. But that seems to be a pretty wide standard throughout the rest of CCS. Um, I know your library did it differently, and so we just had to add the other format, but then it worked. Like, I mean, it's not a problem, but as long as the formats are programmed properly, they seem to be fine.
Yeah,
In the
because
in
when
the
I inherited the Biblioteca RFID pads, there were
Mhm.
10 formats in it. So
Oh,
everybody's everything gets read.
I see. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, so for whatever reason, I mean, it could just be unique to Wilmette, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's not like they were going around figuring out different, tag formats or anything else like that. Things were set up a certain way and then they were left that way until they broke. And it was not until we got our latest circulation manager that he's like, hey, you know what? These tags are not scanning from, these libraries for some reason. Can we look into it some? And so that's what we did, and worked with them to do it because I'll be perfectly honest with you, Smarty. When we used the self checks, the biblioteca self checks, they had those formats. I'm like, I don't know why the PC RFID pads did not have those as choices, but the self checks that we have do. And they got, I mean, granted, the self checks are a lot more recent than the RFID pads. And even then, they swapped out. I don't know if they changed what the settings were. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoever was in charge previously, they kept the same settings and that's what they had used. So, it's just something that our circulation manager is now working with Biblioteca on as far as getting those formats updated for their tag pads or for their computers, basically. So, because once I added them to the one that we tried it on, it was fine. There was no issue. The only issue that we did have was from Gray's Lake items, which also had the ISO object item, but then wouldn't scan for any of our tag pads at all. And that seemed to be when we talked to Northbrook, maybe related to a code that they had programmed into the tag that they probably need to remove actually for us to be able to scan it. So that's what it seemed like to be from what we could tell, but I had no real, I want to say, confirmation on, this, that, or the other. Um, so, but that's where I was kind of at with it. And I don't know if you guys have heard anything else like that? Because I think before the circulation department just worked around it. Our circulation departments have a tendency to do that. They can just have a dummy barcode they scan on there, stick it in there and then use it. It was just more of a question as far as like what is like the standard as
Standard.
far as CCS
So
goes.
here are my 2 cents on it.
Yeah.
Our standard is ISO object, but
Hmm.
we have a few old books which used to have taxes format, which looks like you got and are being read. So I followed up with my technical services manager to be in touch with Biblioteca because our tags are also coming from them to
Hmm.
make sure that the tags are also ISO object tags and not taxes. But that doesn't mean any other format or old books will be ISO. So that's one thing. Second
Okay.
thing, yes, ISO object is the preferred standard. And if we have new libraries come in who are going to adopt RFID tags, then maybe we can ask CCS to recommend that if they are going to adopt new, they should get ISO object. But if there are libraries with existing RFID tags, it's a very expensive endeavor to get everybody on a uniform format. So then, if they know their format, maybe this should be part of onboarding for these libraries to let us know what tag formats are and we add it to our RFID pad beforehand.
No, I completely agree. I recommended that to my director as well, to bring up in the CCS board level, as well. And I talked to our circulation manager to talk to them and their group as well to do that. And I think that's really because circulation handles it more. It might be, the discussion for them to have. But I did bring it up to him and I said, look, you guys need to have some standard or like an onboarding procedure like that to find out what people have. And then if we need to add that as a preference, we can add it. But if they are like going to be doing something new, even if they're doing the ISO object standard, then we should give them the standards for what should be entered in the tag. Because the Grays Lake tag, I'll give you an example, wouldn't scan at all on our RFID pads or on the computer, but it would scan in the self check. But the worst part about it was is that when I scanned books from Warren Newport or books from Indian Trails, I think was the other one that was different. They at least told me that I couldn't check it out because it was from another library or something. The Grays Lake one's just checked out like as if it was my home library. So like if they were on there, they would just scan in the self-check and you would never know, unless you were actually looking at the item itself to see that it was from Grays Lake. So that was the one kind of, I want to say, strange thing about it all. So, but from what I've heard, I think Grays Lake is going to be working to fix that issue. So,
We are.
sorry.
We are.
Okay. And and just to be clear too, like it's not a huge issue for our circulation and or anyone else here, I think, to work around. It was just something that we had we had noticed. So, did you have anything else to say about it, Sean?
Not really. We were not involved in the configuration much at all. The MK Solutions is more of a concierge service.
Mm,
Yep, we want RFID, and they have a working library with McHenry. And I haven't heard any complaints about McHenry tags. And I've pointed this out to MK. Why are our tags being a problem and McHenry is not being a problem? Where's the disconnect there? And they still have not figured out the root problem of that. So I don't know. I don't advise MK Solutions for anybody that's thinking about migrating to another vendor at this point.
I was going to say, I don't know if you guys have that information, but if you want to email or send me your email or something else like that, email me. I did look at the difference between the tag formats between like what we normally have and what you guys have, and I can send that to you. So if you think that'd be helpful for them to look at and say, look, guys, why is this? You know what I mean? Maybe they can see what the difference totally is, but um,
Absolutely. I
I
mean,
can
I'll
point
take
it out.
anything. I My ignorance is astounding as far as RFID goes. I'm happy to admit that. I'm still learning as we go. Um, yeah, I mean the your comments earlier about a standard, I think is something that really needs to be seriously looked at. Not necessarily picking the ISO or the tag. I forget the name, anyways,
Yeah.
but the fields that are involved in these tags.
Hmm.
Like I don't remember which library it was that they were using field 31 to mark an object as non-circulating. We wouldn't even think to do that. I mean, simply because the ILS would take care of that. There's no reason for the tag reader to mark an item non-circulating when the ILS, when you scan the tag, which should be just a barcode carrier in my mind, um, would come back and say this is a non-circulating item. Almost like a double duty going on
Right,
or
right,
redundancy.
exactly. Well, and I mean the other thing too with the rate with those tags is like they will list like the barcode number, the library it's from, and maybe a couple other, you know what I mean, variables like that. But that's typically all that's on there, if I'm correct, Smarty. That's right. Yeah. So I mean that's basically it. But if you don't like so for example, if you don't enter your library name in there and you just have the barcode number, well, then you know what I'm saying? Then that's kind of an incomplete, field for the tag, right? So
Agreed. But
so
even then, with a barcode, you should be able to basically identify the library. All of our items start with 36109.
oh
Right.
no, totally.
Warren New,
Totally.
I mean, there's things like that. But no, I'm not arguing against putting a library identifier field in, and even a branch field for the libraries that have multiple branches, and then a barcode field. And but I don't know about much else. Maybe date purchased or entered circulation. I don't know.
I think we put in like a format field. But we have a very much smaller number of formats than we would have. It's like book, AV, something. I can't remember. But yeah, there aren't that many things that get tagged in it.
No, there aren't really. So, but yeah, so that was just, I mean, in the end, we can get this resolved for sure, and it's not a big deal. But yeah, for the standards and stuff like that, as far as CCS goes, that's definitely something to take into account, especially when onboarding new libraries and just making sure that the fields that we expect to be filled are filled, and so
Can I interject here a second?
sure thing.
Okay, Sean, you had mentioned that your library is taking steps to correct this situation. Can you talk about those steps?
MK Solutions is taking steps.
Okay.
I don't have much control over anything. I mean, I have access to all the fields, but I'd be a bull in a china shop running through there.
Did they describe to you what they're doing?
No, because they're actually writing code.
Okay. There was a question posed on the CCS help desk whether you had to retag 27,000 items that had already been tagged. Is this something that MK Solutions is uh, suggesting, recommending, saying
Yeah,
you have to do?
you misread what Lauren said.
Okay.
When I was talking to Lauren, I said we would probably end up having to rescan and rewrite the tags
Okay.
once these fields get squared away.
All right. Sounds good. Okay. So
I
the
don't
code that MK is writing, any indication as to what that's going to do? Is that part of the reprogramming the tags?
I would imagine.
Okay. All right.
I'm not on their development team, Robert.
Yeah, no, I thought maybe
This
they
is
had,
part of why I don't recommend MK Solutions for anything.
shed
I mean,
some light
I'm
on.
beyond sorry that we've gone with them now. If I could demand our money back, I would.
Okay. All right, just curious. Um, yeah, so keep us posted,
Yeah.
I
Sean,
guess.
I feel for you. This is an expensive and time-consuming process.
Yeah, it was supposed to be almost a white glove concierge service kind of thing, and it's not only 4 months behind their schedule that they demanded we keep, and then they drop the ball and we're 4 months behind. But then it blows up in our faces like this, and half the libraries are telling us they can't read our tags, or there are problems when they do read our tags. So I just want them to line their ducks up and get them to march straight. So, sorry, I'm a little surly this early in the morning.
Um, cool. And actually, you know what, Bob, now that you're actually talking, did you have any updates for us? Because I totally skipped over that.
You know, the only thing that is worth talking about is the Vernon migration.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to put in the chat here a link. It's a link to the CCS website, and it details or explains a lot about what's going to be happening during the migration, what staff needs to be aware of. But I'll just touch over real quick some of the major points, and that is we are going to be offline for 5 days. So starting August 28th, which is a Friday, that morning, all the libraries will be using remote offline, and they will continue to reuse remote offline through Tuesday, September 2nd. We anticipate Wednesday, September 3rd will be the first day we all come back online. As before, SIP is going to be redirected to training. Um, Polaris is going to sync up the training database with production just shortly before or shortly after we go offline on August 28th. Um, sorters have to be offline. Your self checks have to be either shut down offline or in offline mode. Um, any services that use SIP for authentication, they'll have access to the training server data, which eventually become over time outdated, but at least they'll be able to authenticate. The Polaris API service is going to be offline. That won't be available. There are a number of services that use the API. The website link that I gave you on that web page is a complete list of all the vendors that have API keys. Now, here's the thing: we're not exactly sure which vendors use their key. or have tried to use their key and then opted back to using SIP um, as a method of communication with the Polaris database. But take a look, take a look at the list of vendors that use the API. If you need to reach out to them to let them know that there's going to be this offline period where authentication just isn't going to work, or whatever services they provide just won't work because of the API, do that. Mieko wanted me to remind you that because we're going to be an offline, a remote offline, staff should test the stations, each station that's going to be using remote offline. Um, when you go to the website, you'll see a small section about that. And the only blurb in that section is more information to come. So it sounds like she wants to have some type of coordinated effort. My guess is, in its simplest form, you're going to take the workstation, set it into offline mode, check out an item or two, go back in online mode, open a ticket with CCS, tell them that you just transferred, some data in remote offline. They'll process the files, the remote offline files, update the ticket when that's done, and then you can make sure that the transactions are represented in the database. Now, she may ask you to do this against the training. She may ask you to do this against production. It's up to, that's yet to be seen. Yeah, if you're going to have your self-checks in offline mode, she would like you to test that as well. So if you're going to be spooling checkout transactions in offline and the self-checks in offline mode, test that. Patron registration is available. Usually a library designates one workstation for the patron registration during offline period. You do need to open a ticket and let us know what that computer name is so that we can identify the transactions from that station. Those transactions are processed first when we come back up online, and then all of the checkouts are processed after that. That's the purpose for letting us know what the computer name is. So yeah. It's we're offline for 5 days. Does anybody
Good
have
news
any
is we don't
questions?
use,
Go ahead.
sorry, I was going to say the good news is we don't use RFID.
Well, I anticipated that question, and I do have to check that out, whether RFID will work in remote offline. Certainly won't work in local offline. If everybody has an experience with remote offline and RFID pads, speak up now. It'll save me a trip to the Polaris help desk. Rudy, you're smiling. I can see you know something.
So we use only local offline when we are down. We don't use remote offline at all, and RFID pads don't work with local offline
Yeah.
because remote offline is used only by technical services.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'm confused about something. Why wouldn't RFID pads work pretty much the same essentially as barcode scanners?
Oddly enough, they don't. Oddly
Well,
enough.
ours do. So
Okay.
I can scan. I can like open Notepad and drop something on an RFID pad, and it types it into Notepad. So I don't
Okay.
know why
Why it wouldn't.
it wouldn't work with anything.
All
Yeah,
right.
if it works with Notepad, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but mm.
Yeah, and I honestly just can't remember. It's been too long since I did that. But yeah, I mean, definitely the scanning the barcodes works, and I think that's what we do anyway, because even if you had the RFID, I don't know. It's one of those things because the RFID pad then takes off the security or whatever to walk through security gate type of thing. So, but but yeah, I don't know, unfortunately. So, but like to Mark's point, yes, you should be able to scan things with an RFID pad. It shows up in Notepad, and that's how you can actually see how it's scanning, if it's adding a line or return carriage or something else like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
In fact, in my experience, when we go down, our staff don't even want to use local offline. They just want to write it on a paper, and we have to tell them local offline is very easy. Please try it.
Yeah, and I think the only difference with remote offline, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but it's just the fact that scans all that data to the server, so we don't have to upload it later. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
So for local offline, actually, you don't need internet connection at all, I think.
That is
That's
For
correct.
correct.
remote, yeah, for
Yeah.
remote offline, you need to remote into CCS servers and connect to them. So that's why I think because of that reason, because of that authentication thing that is happening. So one tip for just as a reminder, before you do local offline, make sure you update the files on that computer so that it reads the latest data.
This is Molly from CCS. Sorry, I'm just sitting in on the meeting today. I put the link to maintaining offline that has the directions on how to get those updated files in there as well. It's in the chat.
Thanks so much, Molly. Appreciate it. It's yeah. Especially for our new folks here who probably may not have done this before. A few of us, a lot of us have done it for quite a few years now, so. All right. There's nothing more on that. I'll move on here to the last thing I guess I'll talk about here is a Biblioteca software. We recently updated our Quick Connect versions on all our self checks to 2.10. I'm just wondering if anyone else has got an email from Biblioteca and has been updating their stuff too. I know I talked to our circulation manager about updating their AMH to the latest version of the software as well. And I guess in general, what do you guys normally do when you get software upgrades from Biblioteca? That's I guess an open question as well.
So at Park Ridge, for the longest time, they weren't updating our stuff as per what their contract says. So we had to go to our account manager, really press them on, hey, like these things haven't been updated in a couple of years. You need to do that. Talk with your account manager. I know he's trying to get us the release notes ahead of time so we can at least see what changes will be happening if we need to take any action when they do upgrade them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, funnily enough, what happened for me is they sent an email saying, "Are you using the latest software?" It was like a almost like a marketing email, and then they listed the different versions, and then it's like I asked my supervisor, he's like, "No, we're not." I'm like, "Okay, well then we better get them to update it." So
You're the
yeah,
lucky one, Michael. We don't get all these emails. We struggle when there is something wrong and then reach out to them.
yeah, I think actually my director I think forwarded me that email too, so I don't even think I got it. So there you go. Um, but
In
yeah,
my library, we are just trying to move away from Biblioteca. Our sorter is not Biblioteca anymore. It's Linkso. Our RFID pads are moving to Envisionware. So the last two things of Biblioteca we have is self-checks and the RFID tags. And Envisionware RFID pads, I love them. They are compact, like they don't have that extra fig reader component. Plus, you get more information, and there is only one web-based page or one software. That's it. For Biblioteca, I have three softwares, one for reading, one for writing, one for wiping.
yeah, that's right, because they have the separate programming software too, right? That you have to put on there as well. Basically, and just for some history for people, I think that was all the 3M software that they just rebranded. I don't know if they've actually changed it a whole lot through the years here. I think 3M was the one that initially had the hardware before Biblioteca. 3M sold it off basically, that part of the business, and so Biblioteca bought it up because they're doing software, and so then it became software and hardware for both of those things. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's good to know that the Envisionware tag pads work well too, because
Yeah. Because Grays Lake Library reached out to us regarding their RFID issue, and my Biblioteca RFID pads could not tell exact details of the format, but Envisionware software, and we could get exact details and screenshots to share with them. Like, what do we read versus only whether it's read or not read. So we could give those technical details to them.
Yeah, and I was going to say to even for us to get those details, we had to work with Biblioteca tech support. They had to install something on our computer, and then they had to run, a program on there to get those details. So it was definitely not built in. So, but I mean, that also spent, well, I think I spent a couple hours on the phone with the guy. So trying a bunch of different things. So I don't know. Does anyone else have anything to say about Biblioteca, I guess, at this point? But
I saw your question. So a couple more things. You were asking about self-checks. They
yeah.
don't upgrade it by themselves. And they don't even recommend upgrading. They're like, no, it's okay. You can keep going on with it. Updates when the tech comes in, if he's scheduled to come, then he will perform updates and go.
Yeah, because I was going to say, so the other thing that the only reason I asked actually about this, so for my second question here about the PCs installed in the self-checks is because I know they're using, what is it, the Windows 10 long-term license. I'm forgetting the name of it off the top of my head, but it's super long-term. And I know on the majority of our self-checks, they have a version of it that's going to expire in October of next year. And so I was just kind of, I guess, getting ahead of that in the sense of, if anyone has actually tried to use their own PCs in a Biblioteca self-check, or they're just like, oh no, you have to use what we give you type of thing. I was just curious if anyone had an experience with that. I'm going to guess from the silence, probably not. Um, and then the last thing that also annoyed me about them is the Windows just OS updates on there. I'm like, you supplied the PC. Why are we responsible for making sure that the updates go through? This only became an issue for us recently because we had a couple computers that stopped updating. And so we're trying to like work through to fix that. We're able to get one fixed, but not the other one yet. But the other one is updating again. But it had stopped updating for, I want to say, the better part of a year. So it's kind of like, well, then what is the responsibility of the hardware? I understand you're responsible for the software and upgrading it on there, but I'm definitely going to probably be calling them and saying like, well, if this gets stuck or something else like that, what, you know what I mean? What is the process to get that fixed? And just so everyone's clear, I mean, most of our libraries that have this Biblioteca like hardware and software, we pay a lot of money for maintenance on those devices, like a lot of money in our budgets go to that. So
So they've even replaced our PCs inside the self-check if they have an issue, because that's in the contract.
yeah, I was gonna say okay. I mean, I think if they had an issue, but then like you said, they're like, well, we're not gonna upgrade it unless it fails type of thing, right? I think is what it was for us, if I'm not mistaken.
So we've had hardware issues with the PC, and the tech has come. He's diagnosed. It takes an awfully long time, but they replace it. So it's fine.
Okay, that's good to know. Anyone else? Or am I talking to only people that don't use Biblioteca hardware?
No, I'm with you on that. I completely understand. We're the same way some days as well.
We don't use them, but we're looking at them. Do you feel you would make the choice to go with them again? I mean, it's a good product, but
I want to say
Good looking product.
oh, sorry.
I would say it's a good looking product.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's good looking for sure. There are self checks and everything else like that. The support, on the other hand, I guess I'm not so much of a fan of over the years with them. I will tell you when they were separate companies with 3M and Biblioteca, that was good. But whatchamacallit, since then it's a little bit harder as far as getting service and stuff like that. So I would definitely weigh your costs in consideration there, as far as looking at them goes. That said, they are widely used in a lot of different libraries, around here. So that's not to say that there's not also something for that as well, because you know that the stuff will be more or less compatible, you know what I'm saying, going with them because all these other libraries use them as well. So
Yeah, we're on with Centec right now, but considering new ones. So thanks.
yeah, I was gonna say the FE Technologies seems to be a couple vendors that people have been looking at too for some of that stuff. So that might be another option. And I think Smirty, you had a different vendor that you were looking at as well. So
Our sorter is Linkso, but our RFID pads are Envisionware. We are not at a point, we are still happy with our self checks. And the more we go into CCS, we encounter more libraries who don't use RFID tags. So then our usage of self checks have gone down. So right now, we are not looking to get rid of Biblioteca self checks. We are still going to stay with them. The problem with Biblioteca is their support and sales. The salesperson keep on changing. Like I've been on third or fourth salesperson in the past 4 years, and they are not proactive to get in touch with you unless it's a renewal invoice you are getting. Their support, they outsource it to a local company, Decision One. So you put in a ticket with Biblioteca, it goes to Decision One, and then they will get in touch with you. So that process takes time, and it's not a direct Biblioteca person. Plus, their online support is not in US. So again, it's European and it's a little different. So I wouldn't say they are bad, but it's not as nice as I would expect my vendor to be if I'm paying so much money.
So when I talk with our, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Okay, thanks. When I talked with our account rep about the support problems, he admitted that like, yeah, no, the outsourced air support kind of screwed them up really bad. So they're bringing it back in house. They've also, I think, are building out a warehouse as well in their headquarters so they can actually store parts, get it to us faster. But yeah, they're going through a lot of changes right now. Again, like if you're having any issues, just go straight to your account rep. We've done that and we kind of put a lot of pressure on him, and that seems to get results. I wish we wouldn't have to do that, but at least getting their information, talking directly to them, they seem to have a line into the company where they can get to those higher level techs a lot quicker. So you're not sitting around going through the support. Because I've dealt with, again, I think we all have like the level one support where it's, well, did you restart it? Did you try this? Well, let me gather this. Let me get, and now I've just gotten to the point of like, all right, let me call I have their extension, call the like their, higher level tech people. Hey, this 5 seconds. Okay, you're done. Yeah.
We had Biblioteca self-checks and they were terrible. And when 3M got involved, their support went down the tubes. It was terrible. We've got Visionware self-checks now. We've had them for 4 years. They've been rock solid. No problems at all. Or very minor, but been very happy with those.
And yeah, we switched everything except our staff pads from Biblioteca to FE Tech. Yeah, we actually got rid of our sorters. There was in our particular, we had a sorter and it was actually overkill for our situation because we're a smaller library, and we actually switched to FE Technology smart bins. So
oh, that's good to know. All this information to know about different alternatives and stuff like that. I know for us, the Biblioteca stuff was bought, I want to say a couple of years or so before I started. So they had just gotten a lot of this stuff. So they're, at least for right now, fully invested in what it is. Although, um, yeah, with my experiences with Biblioteca hardware and software too, I'd like, something else. The one thing I will mention about the hardware side, just when 3M sold it off, Biblioteca bought all the hardware or bought off the business and kept the hardware techs on there. But like for an example, the hardware tech that I used to know that walked around like three different libraries or something else like that, or more, actually more for the entire North Shore. But I saw him at three different libraries I was at, in three different places. But the point is that he retired, and so a lot of all those techs and stuff like that that had been there retired, which is probably why they went with Decision One to outsource it in the first place, and obviously are finding out that's not a solution for them. So I just wanted to, I guess, give some background to that, I think.
Yeah. Hey Mark, can you explain how the smart bins work? Because I saw them at ALA 2 years ago, but I can't recall. I know that these are especially for libraries who want to, who have smaller footprint, lower budget. But can you explain how it works?
It's, I mean, it's just there's an RFID reader. So when you put it in the slot, it gets checked in, but then it's a bin. That's it. I mean,
Got it.
so
So
it's
it's
so
one bin
then
instead of multiple bins and a sorter belt
uh,
on which things
so
are going.
so there's no sorting done on it. The thing is we were having to, because of our workflow, we were having to resort everything after it got sorted anyway. So it didn't save any time. It's just, so it's smart in the sense that when you drop something in there and it's got an RFID tag in it, it checks it in right then. So does that benefit? Otherwise, it's just a bin.
Cool. Is there anything else about Biblioteca? Okay, then. Does anyone have any other issues they'd like to bring up or discuss at all?
I have a couple of housekeeping things, please. So one thing in our Excel sheet, Mark, that you made when you were chair, can we add a column for IT managers or IT point of contact for the library? Because the only time we see IT manager's name or email address is when somebody is attending the meeting.
I think so. I mean, that spreadsheet's owned by CCS now, and I think
CCS.
pretty much anyone can edit it. So
Okay.
I mean, it's like a vote maybe if we want to add a column. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then
Because
someone
then
just adds
CCS
it.
will have to collect that information for us. So Bob, can you please do that for us if all of us are okay with it? Because I went to different library websites and not all websites have IT managers listed on them.
I
I'll
was
look for the link. There is a link that says most of them, so let me look for that. And I apologize for whomever I interrupted.
Sure. Thank you. Other thing is we are getting these Zoom links and reminders in a PDF or Word along with the minutes. Can these be sent out as an Outlook invite so that they stay on our calendar?
I was going to say that's also a kind of a CCS thing. I think so. If I'm mistaken or not, on the CCS library website or like CCS lib website or whatever, you can add the meeting, but the details, like for example, for the minutes and stuff like that, aren't necessarily included in the invite. You can add the invite for the meeting, and in some cases there'll be a link to the actual Zoom thing. But in this case, I guess for whatever reason, like, because that's how I add the meetings, is I use the invite from the CCS website, and then I ended up kind of like adding the other information to that myself. But I guess I should see if I add that, if I can like send an updated one or something else like that. And maybe that's something you can experiment with CCS here to make sure we can add that kind of information into the invite, because that would be nice. That would be
Yeah.
convenient,
I'm
sure.
sorry, maybe because I'm pampered or I have too many meetings. If it's not in Outlook, the meeting doesn't exist, and I'm too worried to miss this meeting, especially now if I'm the chair.
Yeah, I apologize. I was talking up a storm there, but I was muted. So I'm looking at, so this on the CCS website, the minutes were added to um, the content, but unfortunately the minutes do not show up um, as a link
No,
on
that's
our
not what I'm
website.
asking for. For the next meeting, there is a link for Zoom, right?
Yep, there
So
is.
that link, can it be sent as an Outlook calendar invite? Just
Oh,
like when we attend a webinar or a training, we get an Outlook calendar invite when we sign up.
yeah. All right, that makes sense. I'm going to look into that. Yeah.
I will say on the other topic, Smriti, I am the tech services manager at Prospect Heights, and then I also like do IT. But I all of the time use um CCS has all of the libraries have the three-letter code and then tech, and that goes to their tech contact. It might be worthwhile for CCS to have that for IT. So, you would just send it to phkit@ccslib.org and it would go to whoever is the current IT contact. I think that would be helpful to have because I use the tech ones all the time.
Okay, we could look into setting that up. Yeah, so the library would then be responsible for communicating who, would be next in line if
Yeah.
it had to change.
Yeah,
Who's it being forwarded to?
I was going to say too, I believe on the CCS website, and I've had to do this before because when I couldn't find the IT manager, I'll give you a perfect example was Mount Prospect. Whatchamacallit, I had to search there's a list of contacts that you can search per library, I believe, on the CCS website. And then,
On L2, yes.
yeah, and then you search the contacts and they're there. However, that obviously also needs to be, as long as that's updated, it works because then I can email those people, I mean, someone directly, like I had to in this case, because my director got the first name of the IT manager, but didn't have any other info. So I was like, either I'm cold calling the library or I'm going to check the CCS website. So I did that. So yeah.
Hopefully, at least everyone here within earshot is a member of the IT listserv. IT. So, yeah. So, if everybody was, let's assume that in the perfect world, every CCS library had one IT representative there, we could certainly generate a list quite easily from that. So, anyways, yeah, do make sure that anybody who needs to be on that list is.
I put the direct link on how to search for anybody that we have listed in CCS, and then the second link is I narrowed it down just to the IT. So you can see we might be missing a few people. So we can try to figure out if there's a person to contact. I know because I was sending out emails to or tickets to everyone to check their users to make sure there weren't any expired. There are a few libraries that don't have an IT contact at this time. So it would be their director.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Thank you. You're super fast, Molly.
Thank you.
Okay, and last question. I don't even know whether it falls into this forum or not. How do you guys handle vendor delivery into the building? Do you have any technology, or like, is it like somebody has a camera, they ring the bell, and then through the camera system it goes? Like, we have vendors coming in and we have issues opening the door. So, how do you guys deal with it? Right now, we have a camera with a bell, but it's not integrated with our security camera system, the surveillance system. So, on the other end, there is a video viewer kind of a thing in circulation, and they can open the door after looking into it. And then, materials technical services also wants to open the door because they get maximum deliveries of books. So, they just hear the knock and they open the door. So, it's become a very weird situation. So, how do you guys deal with it?
I mean, this wouldn't be a solution for you, but we're tech services and we're right where the deliveries come in and we're all windows. So we literally just see them. There's a
Okay.
bell. As long as someone's in tech, we see who it is and we let them in. If no one's in tech, we do have a second doorbell, which is not ideal because no one knows what doorbell to ring. Um, and there is a video in Circ and they can see and they can come back and get it, but it's not integrated with anything. It's just one
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I'd say our situation at Wilmette is a little unique because we've got like a side entrance for drop off or something else like that. And so it's also where we whatchamacallit, I'm trying to think people can drop off their books basically for a donation as well there in the same area. And so we've got a door that's just a side door that people can open, but then there's a locked door there and we have a phone next to it that people can call that just goes to our welcome desk or something else like that if they need to. But for the most part though, it's right next to the facilities department. So there's someone around there and they already know the schedule of the drivers that come from UPS and FedEx or whatever. And so they I mean, they see the guy will come and take out a tray because they'll have a huge delivery and they'll be dropping them off, and then they can see that. And I think that's also on a security camera that they see in their office as well. So, and their office, like I said, is right next to it. So they typically take care of any of that. Granted, it doesn't really help your situation too much, but that's how they did. But it's very kind of similar, like I said, with the camera that they can see there and stuff like that if they need to. But otherwise, it's just like a door with a small window at it, so we can't tell otherwise. And yesterday, I had some FedEx guy bring a printer into the front of the building, so that was cool. So they walked into the front of the building and dropped it off at the welcome desk, and the welcome desk is like, "Hey, there's a big box from HP for you." And I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks." So, anyway.
Thank you. Thank you for the input. Yeah, I've got something brewing in my head, but I don't know how it's going to go. I'm just going to pitch why are you even asking technical services or circulation to open the door? It should be facilities and security because they already have access to the security camera.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense for them to do that for sure. So, I mean, that's like I said, what we do. And I mean, even when I was at Skokie, that's what they did too. I mean, they had a whole, but they actually have an actual area for drop off. So that's attached. So, um,
Thank you. Thank you. I've got some leads then.
anyone else have any other questions or anything that they'd like to discuss?
I was wondering about so yeah, continuing the saga of us sort of looking at our copiers and printing solutions. I was wondering most recently if so one of the things we'd like to keep doing that we're doing right now is offering a certain amount of free copies or prints per day for residents. As far as adding a credit card um to the release station or a credit card reader to the release station, that does complicate things slightly, because we would have to identify, we would have to link up an account with each person. I was wondering specifically if anyone has their library cards set up to have a certain amount of credit on it. And
We
oh, sorry,
we
go
did
ahead.
that around the pandemic. You could do
Okay.
that. You can talk to TBS and you can have it set up that a certain amount of money gets added every day to every single card.
Okay, that was pretty easy to
Yeah,
implement.
it's a very simple setting in
Yeah.
paper cut. We are also going to do it 2 months down the line. So if you have time, by then I'm sure if the policy is done, I can reach out. I can tell you how it went. But it's a simple input box in paper cut. Even you could do it if you log in. But I haven't tried it and I haven't tested it. I just found it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That's yeah, well, I guess we'll look at that later on. Thank you.
The one thing I will mention about just the credit card reader on the copier for you, typically when you do that, because you don't know how many copies necessarily people are going to make on there, there's a credit limit that you're going to have to decide on what you want to charge per limit. Like I think we had libraries previously we did like $20 or so or something else like that. Just because it's going to put a hold of money on the person's card. And so you can't
Mhm.
have it be too much money. Like if they're using a debit card, I don't have this much money. But we did run into instances where someone was trying to use their debit card, but they only had like $10 on it. And obviously our whatchamacallit, our preference is to reserve 20, right? To
Mhm.
do that. So just be aware that when you add the credit card reader to the copier like that, you'll have to decide that, and that will just complicate things. So even though you're giving people the free prints and stuff like that for the moment, which is great, and like they said, easy to add in paper cut, your credit card reader or giving the people that option just comes with that. And conversely, if you just have the print jobs because people print, that doesn't happen because when you scan for the print jobs, whatever, you already have the set number of pages. So it will just charge the amount for the number of print jobs. So just something to keep that in mind when you do that.
Yeah, Michael, that's great input. So our copiers are
Mhm.
not going through paper cut at all. Those are independent. Only printouts are going through my PC paper cut. And in that, because my PC integrates with ILS, so that's why you can pull library card holder information and then accordingly set to that account. So we will be offering free prints only to library card holders, not absolutely anybody who uses it. But yes, in pandemic, we gave it to everybody. We set the limit unlimited, and somebody printed 1,000 pages. After that, we reduced our limit to just 50 a day. And now the price of printing is coming down. So then that $20 limit we've had forever, it's too high right now, even for copies. Like in $20, you can make too many copies for now. If we are 10 cents for black and white and 25 cents for color. So then you would also want to evaluate, do you really want $20? But the point is good. You need to have a limit on the copier, because that is pay first and then make copies.
In one thing that at least the way ours was set up, we would not want to drop it from 20 because we've had that limit also turns out to be a maximum. Meaning if you have $30 of copying or printing, it will only let you do the first $20 worth. So, so then you would have to pay via cash or some other mechanism to pay the rest of that. So that's
Right. I'm thinking in any case, we would probably have some signage up, letting people know the situation. And, if it was something they didn't want to, get involved with, that cash was still an option.
Yeah. So we've had these credit card reader issues on the print tower forever with TBS. I'm sure we've spoken about it in forums too. And then we visited Gale Borden, and they do not have credit card reader on print tower. So hopefully this budget year, which starts in July, what we are going to do is prints will not be released through credit card reader on the TBS coin tower. Instead, we will use Square for credit card printing, and the staff will manually release the jobs from paper card.
Yeah, I think all of that is hopefully good information for you.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's just something. I mean, either that or they split the copies up, right? Just know that like you can only charge $20 for the amount, so you can only make this number of copies, and then if you've got more, you're gonna have to scan your card again, type of thing, right? That's also, a thing to keep in mind as well for people. But yeah, that's the only kind of downside of having a credit card reader on a copier. It's because of that. I think for ours, we just have coin-based, and our ones I think they take $20 bills now, so they can take larger denomination bills and stuff like that. You just then would have to have, but then also if you do something like that, keep in mind that just puts more pressure on maybe the finance person or someone else, whoever fills that coin tower or whatever else like that, to check on the money and to do it depending on how often it's used, right? Once a week at least, I guess would be a thing for the most part, just to kind of see. And if you wanted to wait every 2 weeks, I guess, but I definitely advise once a week because that's what we do. So, but yeah, so hopefully that answers a lot of your questions.
It does. Thank you all.
Is there anything else anyone else has a question about?
I want to circle back to the list of IT managers. So if we, so that last link that, gosh, I forgot her name already. Molly, the last link that Molly gave you, which is how to get to the list of IT managers on the CCS website. If that is sufficient, then we won't have to, we won't do anything else. We just need to keep that up to date, and that's our responsibility. So we'd have to reach out to the libraries, Does that seem like the solution right there to what we were talking about? I'll agree. No. Anybody want to agree with me? Okay, going once.
I was going to say I'll leave that up to Spready of that, but I think that's not what. I don't know.
You want something different.
Just add it in the Excel sheet so that it's easy to read in one place. I mean, ideally, if left up to me, because then you get all the information in one place rather than going 2 different pages for that information. And if some library doesn't have an IT manager, then whoever is the point of contact person, like, okay, somebody said, I think Molly, you said that if it's not IT manager, then it's executive director. That's not really true, because you might have tech services people, you could have adult tech people, So then it's a guessing game, like who are we contacting for this and which list we are looking up.
Right, you and I are going to have a conversation offline about the document you want that in. We will do it. That's not what our conversation will be about. I will not try to talk you out of it.
Yeah, I think it's more just that information that we have, then that search can be added to that spreadsheet. And like she said, it can be in one place. So
Okay.
that'll probably be an easy thing to do.
Good. All right. That's what we'll do.
Um, so yeah. Anything else? Uh, if that's it, we can motion to adjourn here. I just also want to say, Ken, this is like your last meeting with us, I think, right? So congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, well, yeah, it probably is. Probably is.
Because I think September is the next one, so
I'll be in Canada fishing.
enjoy, and I guess we'll have someone new here for your library, hopefully soon.
Yeah, the plan is to get somebody in August 1st so I can spend a month with them, get them all set up and hand them off.
That's excellent. Well, I hope you enjoy Canada. I
Yeah,
enjoy.
you're going to be living your best life after retirement.
Thank you. I hope that's true.
All right. With all that said, who wants the motion to adjourn?
Be happy to make that motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Ken. Anyone second?
I'll second.
All right.
This
Everyone.
motion, everybody wants to second.
That's great. Everyone's afraid first, but not second. Anyway, all right. This meeting is over then. We can adjourn. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it. Great conversation as always. Look forward to seeing everyone again in September, and we'll have new officers to
Yeah.
join us.
Thank you, Michael. You did great for this year. I mean,
Yeah,
Mark
thank
and
you.
then Michael. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. Well,
Thank
take care, everyone.
you. Bye.
Have a
See
good
you all
summer,
next
everybody.
time. All right. Take care.